All right, now we're under the show and tell portion. Anyone have something they'd like to show or tell? We'll go top left to bottom right. Gene, you ready to go?
Yeah, I'll go ahead. If I can jump over to the share. All right, hang on. I presume you're getting the view now?
Yep.
Okay, well, last month I started the Destroyer Escort project, and the hull is now finished, faired, smooth, primed, sanded, primed, sanded, primed, sanded, primed, sanded, primed. I finally got the
Hey, Gene.
Yeah.
I'm still just seeing your Windows Explorer. Are you actually showing a picture?
Okay, hang on a minute here. Let me reset that. Maybe I didn't
You know that guy?
properly.
Have we been spammed?
Yeah, I think so.
That's
Was
oh, first time for everything, eh?
yeah. All right. Well, okay. I have a screen up showing the bilge keel. Is that what are you seeing?
All right, so you need to share your screen or a particular application. It looks like you shared Windows Explorer as opposed to whatever's on your screen.
Ah. Okay. Well, let me try this again. For some reason, it seemed to work before. Okay. You should see a picture.
Do you have multiple screens?
Yeah.
I got 16 pictures, but so small I can't see.
Yeah.
nothing.
Okay. Well, that's okay. Well, okay. You see the page with all the files on it, right?
Yep. Yeah, correct.
Yeah. Okay. Well, then I enlarged the first one, and it should.
Is it showing up on a different screen on your computer? Do you have multiple screens hooked up?
Is that what's happening?
It might be. You can drag it over to
Um,
the primary screen. Or
so under share screen, it should let you pick which window. So after you've opened that window, do
Yep.
share screen. It should give you a choice of windows to share and pick
Yeah.
the
Yeah.
full picture.
And I select.
or you can share the application. If it opens up in
There you
photos,
go.
you can, yeah.
You
there
got
go.
it.
Yeah, we got it. Okay. Now you see the bilge keel.
And for future reference, you can, instead of sharing a screen, you could open up the picture and then share the photo app, and then it'll just show the photo app, regardless of what screen it's on.
Yeah. Okay.
Go ahead.
We're on track now, correct?
Yeah, we got your,
Okay.
your full
All
size
right.
picture.
Well, anyways, okay. There's the hull. It's finished, as I was saying, in primed. I got the bilge keel installed, and it was a pretty simple matter of just cutting a slit in the hull and fitting in a piece of 16th inch brass sheet into it. And so that's complete. And then I went ahead and started to lay out all of the plating for the deck. The ship was welded. This is a Destroyer Escort Butler class. So I'm going to do all the weld lines on the hull and superstructures. And this was part of the process of laying it all out. I have all of the plating diagrams from the manufacturer, from plan. So it was pretty easy to figure out. Just some more closer up of the plating so that I can go ahead and do that at some point when I get to it. And then from there, I decided at some point to do all the superstructure in brass. So I developed all of the artwork for the bulkheads, the decking, and all derived again from original builder's plans, and drew them all up to produce the negatives for my brass etching. And here I printed out the individual plates on paper, mounted them to cardboard because I wanted to produce a a full-scale paper mock-up to make sure all the plates fit together properly and well, that everything would fit and be relative to each other. So here are just some pieces cut out. Here's for the rooftops of the main deck superstructure and all the weld lines associated with it. And then I started to put it together, basically making a paper model of the superstructure. And for the most part, everything fit together fairly well, and proved that the drawings were fair, and that everything would come together nicely. And then from here, I would then produce all the brass, which I started to do, and we'll solder that all together onto the deck. So it'll be one big, massive piece of brass eventually. Yeah, there's another photo of it. So it's a fairly simple superstructure, not too complicated, which is why I decided to do it all in brass. And that's just a kind of an overview of the progress to date. All right, let me see, where are we? And the dark areas will all be cut through totally. Some of the doors I want to leave open, and I'm going to build the interior spaces at that point, especially the one towards the back where underneath the 40 millimeter mount. There was an open space there, some hatches inside, some more bulkheads. It'll just leave some interest, something to peek into. I kind of did a little bit of that on the Olympia, and I want to carry kind of that theme through this model too. Here are some of the negatives that were printed out from the artwork that I produced, and behind it you can see the plating, some of the plating drawings that I used to derive the details and the scheme for all the weld lines. I mean, you can hardly go wrong with drawings like this. And here are some of the brass bulkheads with the weld lines etched in. Even though these are etched into the brass, I just did that more for markers, so I knew where to lay in the bead lines, which would actually be proud of the bulkhead and not etched into it.
How will you do that, may I ask?
I'm going to try using the cowls. My brain just went to sleep. Who's got a large line of rivets and things, weld lines? They make the cowls for that in various scales. And excuse me. And I was going to try that initially. I looked at some of the online how the armored guys used to do weld lines and things, and that just seemed very tedious and long-winded to do it that way. Basically, what they do is they take styrene strips, lay it into a groove, and then soften it with like solvent glue or something, and then take an X-Acto blade and just kind of score, to simulate the beading. As many miles of welding that I'm going to have to do on this boat, I just wasn't up to that task. So I'm going to try the decals and see how that works.
But you mentioned that it would normally stick proud of it. I wouldn't imagine a decal would add any depth.
Well, these are resin produced like the rivets.
Okay, I understand then.
Decals, and they do stand out. But most weld lines on the prototypes are almost flush anyway. I mean, they don't stand up very tall, and these scored lines on my brass will probably absorb some of that, depth.
Since you like brass so much, and you've scored at least some recess in there, could you lay a thin wire?
Well, that's what I was thinking of doing with the plastic. But then if you put the plastic bead in there, it's just ground. You would have to go and soften it, and then take an X-Acto blade or something to create those slight mounds, the different beading as you go through, and you know that's time consuming, so tedious. I'm
Hey,
going to
Gene?
try else. Yeah.
What gauge brass is that, and how are you cutting it?
It's 10 thousandths brass. It's a little thicker than scale. Initially, I was going to go with 5 thousandths, which would yield about a 1/4 inch steel plate. I use 10 thousand because it's stiffer, and to the eye, you're not going to see the difference really. So I use 10 thousandths brass. And once it's soldered up, and you can see along the top edge, I've also etched in lips so that I could, so when I solder it, they'll overlap and kind of key the pieces a little bit better.
How are you cutting it?
Oh, I'm etching it. I'm chemical milling these pieces.
I mean, out of your bulk brass plates.
Pardon?
I mean, how are you cutting them out of your bulk plastic brass plates?
Well, I'm not physically cutting them. I'm chemical milling them. I use my negatives, and then once it's in the acid bath, it eats away all of those materials, the lines, the doors, the portholes and things. So it's a chemical milling process, and it's working very well. All you got to do is draw the part correctly, and then you've got yourself a piece of brass that's dimensioned. And you can see on the table here a lot of the other little pieces, some of the supports for the breakwater and so forth.
You're always etching full sheets. You don't have to cut them down.
Well, what do you mean cutting them? Yeah. I'm using 8x10 sheets and 6x12 sheets. Obviously I can't get a sheet that's as long as the hull, so I had to break it up into, bite-sized pieces.
But if you're going to etch a smaller set of parts and you're only going to use half of a sheet, how do you cut your brass down before you're etching it? I'm curious because I have a hard time,
That's my question.
cutting it, making a nice clean cut.
Oh, no. Yeah, I just use a paper cutter. I have just a Office Max paper cutter, and it'll easily cut 10 thousandths brass, 5,000. And
I need to get one because my wife would shoot me if I did that with hers.
yeah. No, it's 10 thousandths brass is fairly easy to cut in that regard. To save, obviously I don't want to, a sheet like this here with all of the support, that's almost a full 4x10 sheet. Some of the others, there's a lot of lost brass in some parts, but it's only brass or cash, however you want to view it.
Oh, toilets lids.
And these are toilet lids. No, these are the blades for the screws. I'm going to solder those on, and then with a Bondo or something, give the blades thickness, and first shape it, and then shape the blades individually before I was either thinking of casting them, but since I only have 2 blades and they're opposite each other, I might as well just make each one individually, because there would be no point in casting it once it's done. The master would be the product. So again, the shape of the blades were derived from the blade expanded view drawing, which I have. So it gives you the correct shape, and all you have to do is give a reasonable looking twist. And that's where I am as of this moment. And after the meeting, I'll go ahead and start printing out more deck plates and bulkheads, and I'm thinking within the next week or so I should have most of the superstructure probably soldered together. In some sections I'll back it up with maybe a basswood frame or something like that to give it more stiffness, because a long deck like that or a long superstructure like that will have some flexibility to it. And it'll just basically be glued to the main deck. I won't be soldering it to the deck at this point, but from there, from that on up, we'll all be soldered together. So that's it.
Thank you, Gene. I'm next, but I don't have anything to show because I've spent at least 2 months getting where Gene got in half of a day, obsessing over the proper shape of the bow for my model. Maybe I'll have something to show next month. Let's see. Next is John. John, do you have anything to show?
Nothing this month. I have some stuff, but I haven't done the picture thing like Gene does, and holding it up in front of the camera is not the way to go. So I have nothing.
All right, Rylan.
You mute.
Okay. Yeah, I think y'all can hear it. Really, the only thing I've done is in the last couple of months, taking a square piece of wood and, you know, turning it like this in a drill. And it seems like it takes me forever to do that. I don't know why, but it's a slow process. Especially I started with the smallest piece because I was surprised how much it flexed trying to, you know, I use a plywood sanding stick that I made, you know, just a 1/8" plywood with some sandpaper rubber cemented onto it. And that way, the sanding sticks I get from like Sally Beauty Supply, they wind up flexing a little bit, but that would give me a sharp edge like over here, you know, to get a nice clean straight cut and all. But seems like it takes me forever to do this, but you know, this is
hey Rylan, are you using the 7-10-7 rule for that?
yes, I meant to say that, correct. This is a 7-10-7. I don't know if you can see the lines drawn, but it's a template that I pulled off the internet, and also Chuck Passero with the kit in his download had the 7-10-7 template for each size of the wood that's using. And the one I downloaded on the internet is shaped like a cone, so that, you know, you can take and get your lines according to where you need them to be. But you know, it takes some time to do that in a drill, but you know, I don't have a lathe, so that's a poor man's lathe, I guess, is the drill. But
That's what I use for all of my masts and spars.
yeah, but don't you start off with round stock?
With what?
Round stock?
Yeah, round. I don't use square dowels, whatever that word
Yeah.
would be.
Rylan,
Yes.
not to rain on anybody's parade, but I know a much easier way to do it that I did all my spars with.
Uh-huh.
And the 7-10-7 rule, where that comes from is it comes from the sine of a 45-degree angle, basically.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. But an easier way that I do it, and the reason why you use square stock instead of round stock is so you could use better material other than just birch or walnut. Right. Okay. What I do is I use a razor blade like a spoke shave. Okay. And the difference, the way from the way Chuck does it and I do it is that I pre-taper the mast before I sand it. Okay, because what you're running into is you're trying to taper the mast by sanding it. And that is very, very difficult to do, especially in the large diameter mast that you have for a half inch to a foot open boat.
Yes.
That's a lot of sanding, okay, no matter what you use. So what I do is, and it's very unscientific, what I'll do is I'll take a square piece of stock, okay, the correct length, maybe an inch or two longer so I can hold it. And then what I will do is, just like stropping a razor on a strop, I'll take a sharp razor or even an X-Acto blade, okay? And I'll run it, I'll mark where the diameters change along the length of the square stock. And then what I will do is I will start stropping it down, and I'll do like 5 strops on one side, 5 on the next, 5 on the next, 5 on the next. When I get everything down to that diameter, then what I'll do is I'll go to the next smallest length that I had, smallest diameter, and I'll take more strops down and more and more and more. Then I'll go from 4-sided to 8-sided. And frankly, 7-10-7, it sounds really cool. It's the most accurate way to do it. It's the way they do it in full size.
Right.
In the scales we work in, when you get to the very small sizes, like on the scale, it's impossible to do.
Yeah.
With the accuracy.
Smaller the scale, the less significant, right?
The less significant. The other thing you need to know too, which is a discussion I have frequently, is that some spars are not straight tapered. In other words, if you look at a bowsprit is flat on the upper side and all the taper is from the bottom. And that's so a sailor could literally walk on the top of the bowsprit. Okay? You can't do that on a lathe or with a drill. All right? So, you know, I've demonstrated this at our local meeting. I could demonstrate it again for you guys if you wish at some point. But for me, it's a easier, simpler way to do it. And you're not burning your hand by holding sandpaper around.
You got to wear gloves.
Yeah.
I do the same thing that Tom does, but I use a Lily Valley hand plane instead of a razor blade. And it's really easy to control, and I don't have to worry about cutting my fingers. And it works really well. I go 8-side, 16-side, and then sand and never put it in the lathe. I used to use the lathe all the time, but this is, I agree, it's faster and more accurate.
And
that was the smallest size that I've got.
Just like a spoke shave.
Yeah, this being the smallest side, I mean, I can't imagine what it's going to be like when I get that 16-inch, half-inch round. I mean, it's a lot of sandpaper is going to have to be wasted there.
But the nice part of starting with square stock compared to round stock is you can, if you've got holes that have got to go through the spar, you can drill all your holes while it's still square before you've tapered it, and then obviously before you've sanded it.
Right.
To Bill's point, my Liverpool, I have to put sheaves, Howard sheaves in the mast, and I just simulate it by putting a hole in so I could get a line through, and I literally put a hole in a 20 thousandths diameter rod. And the way I do that is I make the hole before I thin it down. So, you know.
Yeah. Good points. I'm going to try that technique.
What is the 20 thousandths in millimeters? Does anybody know that? Because I work.
Hang on, let me check. Calculator.
All right.
Like a 1/2 millimeter?
Yeah, basically.
Okay.
Yeah. Well, hopefully next meeting I'll have more progress on
Yeah,
this.
I tried to
Looking good, Riley.
Thank
drill
you.
holes through a 1 millimeter brass rod, and that was really an adventure. I had to go to somebody I knew that had a milling machine and all this equipment, and we drilled holes through that 1 millimeter bar or rod in order to put belaying pins in there. It's a part of the cutty sark. So I had to go to somebody that had the machinery to drill those tiny little holes through that 1 millimeter bar, and that was, we broke 3 or 4 drill bits trying to do that.
Right, because the bits keep skating off the stock.
They're sliding off. Yep.
Rylan, before we go on to the next person, I'd like to ask you to hold up your model and the spar that you were showing, because I forgot to switch to the speaker view, so the image was really small. Just give us another quick look and then we'll go on.
Okay. That's the boat. And this is the spar.
Nice.
Taking
Looking
a while.
good.
Thank you.
That'll be a lot better for the recording. Sorry about that.
No problem.
Hank Gitano, do you have something today?
I'm going to wait till next meeting. Frankly, I've been working again, and I lost power this week on Tuesday after Tuesday at noon, and I didn't get it back until Thursday at 10:30 p.m. So not much ship modeling. But don't plant curb trees. Do not plant curb trees under power lines. Not in my neighborhood, but the neighborhood that feeds my neighborhood. So anyway,
Yep.
But I'll have something next meeting.
All right, cool. How about you, Hank?
Yeah, I'm here. Back to the Beagle, and I can't see anything on my screen for some reason.
Was that the Eagle?
Yes, the Eagle. I don't know. You can see it. I can't see it. But so last month, I was working on the gun port covers, and I had one side that I had gotten done, and I was going to finish up the other side. I had one side at least roughed in. And when I started working on the other side, I found a better way to make them more uniform. So I went back and took the first side apart and redid that. And so then it says to put the hinges on, which are brass, and then you're supposed to paint the whole thing and then scrub or sand off some of the paint on the hinges, which I wasn't so sure about that. So I figured, well, maybe my hinges will just be brass. So I put the brass on, and it was a little bit too bright there. So I said, well, I'll try it. So I painted them over and then scuffed off the paint. And actually, it turned out pretty good. I guess the intent is to have it look like it had been painted and paint was starting to weather off or something like that, but did tone down the brass some. So finally finished the gun port covers. Spent about 2 months on those things there. So then I was able to do something easier. I got the chain plates on and blocks, and got a couple more little blocks to add on to the outer hull, and then some touch-up painting, and then I'll be ready to start on deck furniture. So that's the update on Eagle with the B.
Did you make ship's boats for that?
Excuse
Have
me?
you made them? Have you made ship's boats? The small boats?
No, it's going to be coming up. It's once I get on the deck furniture part, that's part of the ship boats there. So that's why I'd sent a reply to Ryland's email with the last broadax there, because he had Tom's presentation about making small scale boats. This kit comes with 4 of the 7 small boats that Beagle carried. And I have the anatomy of the ship's book. So I got the plans I was going to try and scratch build the small ones and figure out how to do that. But now with this presentation that I've got between the two there, I might be able to figure it out, but I might need a scratch builder to give me some pointers to get me started. But that's still down the road. It's probably going to be next year sometime before I get to those. But
Just give me a call, Hank. Not a problem.
Okay. I appreciate it, Tom.
Sam McConey, how about you?
Talking to me?
Yep.
Yeah. Well, I don't know if it's possible, but I was thinking if it was interest, I could run you through my room. But I don't know how to do this with a laptop other than to walk around with it.
You can point the camera forward.
Yeah.
You have that
well, it
option.
only
and you can
faces
walk around.
me, so I'd have to walk in reverse.
Pardon?
The camera faces one direction. So
Only
it's-
one? Okay.
Yeah.
Well, you can give it a go if you'd like.
Let me try it, and I'll cancel back out if it don't work.
Do you have a smartphone?
I do.
You could join on your smartphone, and that surely has a camera that faces the other direction.
Let me try this, and if it doesn't work next time, I'll do it.
All right.
Some years ago, we built a house, and my wife we didn't finish my frog, the room over the garage. And a few years later, my wife says, time to finish the room over the garage. And I says, well, we agreed we weren't going to. And she said, yeah, but you're building boats and I ran out of tables to put them on. So finish the room. This is a con, everybody knows that. This is the first meeting I ever attended was an auction and I bought this boat. So that's the significance of that.
Was
The
it
broad perspective of the room, you can see where my wife's coming from.
Lord, you're rivaling Gene here.
Oh, boy. Wow.
Well, it's not nowhere near as sophisticated. Light's not too good. The Confederacy, that was in our exhibition in the museum. Light's not great. Marigo Vespucci down there somewhere. I got that at the last auction. And there's just a host of boats. Victory. Obviously, I'm a sailor.
This is an impressive museum.
I've had to build this case into the wall. It's 2 shelves full of boats.
How long have you been building, Mike?
About 40 years. This one was in the exhibition as well. More boats. Some are basically just stuff I picked up, dirt cheap. That was in the exhibition, I believe. No, it wasn't. That was a different one. Nina Pinta Santa Maria. Got Half Moon, some broad boats that I've picked up. This one is kind of interesting. This is scratch built. I'm a sailor. If we can read, yes. We race radio controlled sloops. And I've always wanted to try and sail a square rigger, so I made a scratch built square rig radio controlled sailboat. And a whole new perspective of how those guys used to sail. But it's not perfected yet. And my biggest problem is I'm running out of glass to stick these things under. So I've had to build most of my own cabinets. And now I'm running out of room to put cabinets. That's my two-minute tour of my boat.
impressive?
That's fantastic.
Nice collection.
I'll give it a thumb up or two.
All I got.
How about you, Kevin? You're muted, by the way.
All right, there he goes. I don't have anything today. Next month, I hope to show you my new workshop. That's what I got to do today is paint.
All right, that'll be fun. Mr. Martin.
I'll pass this time.
I'm sorry, I couldn't hear you. Do you have anything to show or say?
I'll pass this time and show you next time.
Okay.
I'm working on a model of the Royal Prince. It's a British ship from 1670.
All right. Mr. Saunders, dare I ask?
Pass.
Stuart?
I haven't had anything much to work on recently. I've been working on a display case for my yacht Mary, which is not ready yet, and a little scratch build project, which I'm not ready to talk about yet, maybe in the next month or two.
All right, cool. Dave?
So I had about a week to work before I had to tear my workshop apart and put it back together again, but that's going to be good for the club auction because I found a bunch of stuff. But I did a bunch of, nothing's glued in yet, and I have no idea what you can see because I've disappeared from the screen. but there's a mast step, there's the removable flooring, and a bunch of the stern framing. Also notice that for anyone who likes Greg Herbert and David Angel's book, that the second volume of the Speedwell book went for sale yesterday on Sea-Watch Books. And they're pretty amazing if you like scratch-built sailing vessels.
Thank you. Bill Brown?
I made a little progress with Cheerful. Let me just switch the light on. So I started the rigging process. Like Mike, my workshop's above the garage too, but unlike Mike, mine's not conditioned. So with the 90-degree days, I actually built myself a little workshop down in the second bedroom here. So I moved down here to do the rigging. So it's going well. This is my first attempt at a plank on frame. I think I had mentioned, and this is I'm focusing now on the standing rigging. And I think the next step is going to be doing the rat lines, which is tedious, but got to be done. And that's going well. The other thing I wanted to mention to folks, if you watch YouTube at all, there's a video log entitled Sampson Boat Company. It's a young Englishman who's set up a shop in Washington State, and he's restoring a 1910 sailing vessel called Tally Ho, which won the Fastnet race in 1927. And he has about 77 now episodes out. They're about 15 to 20 minutes length each. But I find it absolutely fascinating how he is restoring this boat. If you see the boat from the beginning, you would say, just trash it. But he's totally redone all the frames. It's about a 4-year project, which he's about 2 years into. I won't give away too much on it, but it's folks who I think that have our interest, I think you'll find it interesting seeing something at the 12-inch to 1 foot scale and all the techniques he uses in lofting the lines, transferring those onto actual timbers. He went and got his lumber from a mill in Georgia, all live oak. He's got Purple Heart he's got from the Northwest for the keels, stems, and such. And just fascinating with the tools he has, how he's able to handle this stuff. So it's Sampson Boat Company. If you do a search on YouTube, you'll find it. It's about 77 episodes. I think he drops an episode once every 2 weeks. He's got almost 250,000 subscribers now. So he's really taken off, but for what it's worth.
I can second that recommendation, and thanks for reminding me about it, because I'd seen a couple episodes and then completely forgot about it. I think I stumbled upon it because I was looking up stuff about wood milling. So I ended up on the episode when he was in Georgia with the live oaks. And that alone is pretty fascinating.
That's worth it, right? Just that out an episode.
What was the name of that again?
Sampson Boat Company.
Okay, Dennis Hobbs is up next if you have anything.
Yeah, I finally finished my whaleboat and got it all done.
Just a little bit higher if you could.
There it goes. I'll turn it so you can see the interior, I hope.
Yeah, I won't ask you to tip it any further. I don't want things falling out. We can get a decent view.
Yeah. But yeah, I finally got it all done and mounted. That was the one I was working on for at the museum for about a year. With all this time, I finally finished it.
All right. Very good. Thank you.
Looks nice.
Somebody dropped off. Ulrich. Ulrich stepped away. We'll come back to him. How about Gene Andes? You have something to show today? Nope. Patrick Derby?
I still am working on the rattlesnake, and it's about to bite the fool out of me. I'm even the paper is getting where I can't even look at it because I can't see it. The Italian and the French and everything else in it is really, really getting to me. But I'll keep on, and it's getting there, but it does. It's going to take some time.
All right. Well, good luck and soldier on or sailor on.
Was that? What make
Ulrich, we skipped you. Do you have anything to show or say?
Yeah, I hold on a second. I gotta grab it. I have to put it in front of the PC and move the cameras for you guys to see something. Let me see. Okay, can you see all that?
Yes.
Where am I? Okay. This is a model of a so-called light frigate of 1675. The kit is called Berlin, made by Corel. Well, the kit I bought on eBay years and years ago was made by the predecessor of Corel, and it's a real mess. The bulkheads and the false keel were twisted and warped. The kit itself was basically ready to be thrown away, so I had to buy basically everything to make this model, from the decking planking to the hull planking to the guns. I had to buy the gun barrels in England and a lot of other stuff from Cornwall model boats. All the decorations I had to buy because what was in the kit was not usable in a different scale. And I made a lot of changes to the plans, which I bought another set from Corel. I used the original set that came with the original kit to cut out all the pieces and glue them on walnut and make my own parts that way. I have been working on the guns right now. This is one of them. So the gun barrels come out of England, and the gun carriages is from Siren Ship Model Ship Company.
Maybe a little further back for better focus.
Let me see. Let me put it on here and see if I can do this. There.
Yeah, that's a little better.
A little better. Let me see if I can make a little more light in here. So these are the gun carriages are scale of 1 to 48, yet the kit itself is 1 to 40. So I figured the carriage is about appropriate size. You know, if you look at it, they're pretty much decent size for that. So I've made 8 guns so far. I have to make 14 of them. 2 of them are a little smaller, so I got the correct sizes for that. And everything on here is somewhat crooked because I started out with a warped and twisted centerpiece. I turned this whole thing in a jig that would make it absolutely straight, and then I turned that hull into a solid hull by filling up all the gaps. And with yellow tongue, I got that from Henry Jaculin, and then I, sanded off the hull and gave it shape. And so I did some other things already for this model. I don't know if you can all see this right. I did the beak head. Yeah, and the rudder. is already taped up for painting because I'm going to be painting the bottom white. You see that? All the hinges and all that is done by scratch. Here is the.
If you get too close, we can't focus.
Cat stand. Does it show? I don't have enough light in here. That's my problem.
That's a good distance there. Down a little bit lower. There you go.
Okay, and then other things like the bilge pump. And so on it goes. I've done all these little gadgets already, like the windows for the stern gallery. Everything is just made from scratch. You know, I had all these parts as decorations, and I threw them all away. These little things, belaying pin racks. All this is done, including the blocks for the halyards. Oops, lost it. So this is, and these little things look like a rack of a deer. I don't know what they're called in English. They go, they're to fasten sheets, laying sheets, and what else is in here? All kinds of little stuff. So again, I'm working on the guns to finish those up, and then I will be working on the forecastle deck blanket because I have to have the guns in place before I place the false deck on top of it. So all this is preparation for, you know, getting all this thing done so I can later on go and paint the bottom white. I've already purchased the pedestals for this from China. They have some, because the slot had to be 7.5 millimeters wide, and that was the only part I could find on eBay, on the internet. But they're very nice stanchions, not cheap. I made several changes to this model. I did, for instance, this here is clinker planked, and the green color will be also will be painted up to here, this section. And I also have clinker planking on the face of the poop. I don't know if you cannot see that, which is, now let me see if I can adjust it a little bit, which is this section here. Again, the quarter deck is not there yet, so I have to put the guns and everything in that section that needs to be there. But I'm looking forward to keep this thing going. Even so, sometimes I just look at it for 2 days and just don't want to do anything. Hopefully, in another 2 years, I have this thing finished. So most of it is basically scratch built. I bought the planking in 2 millimeter thickness walnut, which is very, very difficult to use as a single planking. That's one reason I make this hull solid, so I had a better surface to glue it to. But 2 millimeter thick planking is really, really, really a pain in the butt, because it's so hard to get it bent and shaped right. But I did it, and it turned out not too bad. Let's see if I can hold it a little bit further back. Is that visible?
Yeah, that's a good distance. We can see the whole thing.
Yeah. So the deck is planked in basswood. I think the thickness is 1/16, which is 1.5 millimeter thick, I believe. Yeah. And so that's about it. And the decorations, like I said, I had to buy all the decorations from England. This is one of the figures that goes in the stern. The company Cornwall Model Boats sells all fittings from Corel kits separately. That's where I got all these extra fitting, or not extra, but the necessary fittings from. The fittings that came in the original kit are a different size. different scales, so I cannot use any of those. Again, I cannot hardly use any thing of the original kit, so I got to make it all myself. And that's basically it.
Ulrich, you said that you're going to put sails on this ship?
Yeah, that will be sailed. It will be fully rigged. It's just a matter of time. I don't know how many years I will be working on this thing, because stubborn as I am, when I saw the kit, when I had it, I said, this is a piece of shit, excuse my language, a pile of crap. But I'm so stubborn that I said, I'm still going to build it. So this is how far I've gotten with it. Just to add something, I'm going to use Swiss pear for all the railings. On top of what you see here, there will be a rail with little stanchions on here. One problem, there's supposed to be belaying pins in here, but down here is the deck. Nobody is tall enough to reach that section from the main deck. So I have to leave those belaying pins off and find spots where I can belay 10 different ropes. So all these have their own designation for tying ropes to in these belaying pins that go on top of here. So I have to take what goes here and here and move it to somewhere else. That's another problem. I have to figure out how to solve that. But there's a lot of things wrong with this kit, with the design of it. You know, for instance, the bulwarks are almost way too thin for a real ship. It's only 4 millimeters thick at the thickest part, because I have a 2 millimeter outside planking on the hull and a 2 millimeter thick inside planking on the bulwarks. So that gives me 4 millimeter at the thickest, and that's not right, you know. But I had to deal with it. So framing out the gun ports was also a nice little task that took me about 2 weeks. It's not a good, well-designed kit, I can tell you that. And there's so many issues with it that I never thought I'd have to deal with it, but I dealt with it. The bowsprit that goes in here, I had to move that forward in order not to interfere with the rail that goes here in the front. You can't see that. You see here's a hole for the bowsprit, and here will be a rail. And the bowsprit was past, how do you say that, dipping into the deck past that rail, and that is not right. I can't build a rail when I have a bowsprit in its way. So I had to move the whole thing forward so that the bowsprit is not interfering with this rail here. So a lot of issues, and I deviated from the plans a lot of times, which created more and more problems, but that's the way I am. You know, I solve one problem and create 3 more. That's about it.
All right, thanks, Ulrich, and thanks for joining us.
Well, my pleasure.
Let's see, where did we leave off? Tom, do you have anything today? You're working on the Tom Ruggiero?
You already called me.
I did? Okay, sorry.
That's okay.
Where did I leave off then? Jimmy, do you have anything to share or tell? I think the order on my screen is completely changed. That's the problem. I was going top to bottom.
Somebody's
It's all
missing.
gotten scrambled.
Somebody's missing.
Yeah, so who has something to show or tell that hasn't already gone, because the order changed on my screen and
I'll show something.
All right, John.
I'm working on the, I don't know if you can see that okay?
Mm-hmm. Royal Caroline.
Royal Caroline, right. It's a Panhard kit. So I've got most of the decking and the deck penetrations done. Also, most of the sub-assemblies for the deck furniture is done. Now just starting to do some painting along the side of the hull so that I can start working on the brass applications and the brass decorations, and there's a lot of them on this. So pretty tedious work, actually, working with the brass. Very difficult because I haven't done much of it before. So it's coming along, but it'll be a while before it's done. No question about it. A lot of decoration to be done around the doors, windows in here, and alongside the hull. Pretty tedious work. So it's getting there, but it'll be a while. Also, I'm learning a lot of Italian. I wasn't expecting to, like Patrick.
All right, good luck with that. Looking good so far. Anybody else? All righty, we're done showing and done telling. Rylan, were you gonna show Marty's thing for a presentation?
Yes, yes, we can go right into the presentation if you want to right now.
I'm going to start and stop the recording like I did before. Just give me a moment.